Live commentary.
Intercepted by Dwight Gale, running forward now. Takes a shot from the edge of the area. Great shot, great save. Told you he could hit them, Ben.
Chris, you mentioned to me earlier about the speed of his shot. And the shot from Dobby goes high and wide, but that shot from Dwight Gale really did trouble the goalkeeper.
Live interviews.
To be fair, we were scratching around trying to find somewhere else to go, and there was a cafe open, so we just thought, we'll go in and have a breakfast. You know, there's people walking to work, and we're just coming in our dancing gear and whatnot. It was quite funny, to be fair. We all sat there having eggs Benedict and chips and a cup of tea. There was no alcohol drunk. That was the stupid thing. You know, talking about us celebrating. We're all having cups of tea.
Expert analysis.
It's a free kick to Palace on the edge of the box. It was trialist Orange Boots who was tripped on the edge of the box.
What do you call trialist Orange Boots?
Yeah, we're going to call him Trialist. Like, Trialist is his first name, and Orange Boots is like a double-barreled surname.
Sam's Dutch.
Well, most of the time anyway. Holmesdale Radio.
Well, we'll have to. That is really odd. I wonder what Mike is actually broadcasting. Yeah. Oh, there we go. We're back. That's pretty funny. Thanks for that. We might have to start that all again. Cheers, Ryan.
No, what do you want to say, Ryan? No. Hang on, Ryan.
Shut up, Joe. Oh,
but he's here. He's got on the radio. What do you want to say about yesterday?
Don't be rude. Do you know what?
Don't be rude.
I only watched the highlights, so I don't really have much to say. I thought that the first half looked like we played good, expansive football, but second half it looks like we need to get another defender in, which we all know.
Okay. Excellent.
Well done,
cheers,
Ryan.
mate.
Cheers, mate. Yeah, thank you for letting us know. Yeah, cheers.
No worries. But
well, that's cheers. Bye. Now that is slightly distracting. We've apparently we've been broadcasting some sort of typing sounds and stuff, so you haven't really heard anything. Don't really know what to do with that. I'll tell you what we'll do is we're just going to play you. All right, I just noticed what happened. Right, what we're going to do, we're going to. I've got a fantastic introduction. Like that, it was just brilliant, wasn't it? Should we do it again? Let's do it again. Let's start the show again. I'm going to do it. I don't care what anyone says. Okay,
not
just
including
pretend.
that 5-minute advert.
Yeah. Oh no! Apparently they heard news. They heard news in brief. All right, listen. We're going to come back. Okay. So just pretend nothing else has happened. It's news in brief. News in brief just finished. Here we are. Okay, welcome back from news in brief. My wonderful impression of Joe Holyoke. Well, so first of all, and for the second time for all of us, we're going to sort of start with talking about the Stoke game. Oh, this feels weird now. Feels awkward, doesn't it? So we lost 2-1, game of two halves, etc., etc. First 15 minutes, I'm going to ask you the question I asked you before, Alex. Obviously, Palace started strongly. Stoke were very much in the game, but player that stood out first of all was Jose Campagna. So once more, can you give us your opinion, perhaps opinion of those at the game?
Yeah, I'll say the same thing again. He certainly excited the Palace fans based on what we saw at the Spurs game. We lacked that the flair and the movement in midfield that he creates and gives. You saw the ball over to Joel Ward later on that you'll talk about. Just everything about his movement and just wanting to be involved for the whole game and not being afraid. You saw a lot of players at the Spurs game and at that game that actually when they get the ball they just want to rush to give it, whereas he's more than happy to take a few touches, beat a man and bring it back, and he wants to run the game himself, and he connected really well with Jednak, and I think a lot of people can see that being a very strong partnership this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously early days for him, and he's not really had any real playing time or anything like that. So it's having sort of joined the club with an injury and had a bit of a disruptive pre-season. I think you can see that the talent there is just immense. It really is. It's quite frightening to think you pay 1.75 million for a player of that ability just by going abroad. It's not as if Spain is a secret or anything like that, but you try and buy a player. You try and buy a 20-year-old English midfielder with that level of technical ability, and just think how much money you'd have to pay. Could be a truly fantastic signing.
And the first game being away at Stoke, the fact that Holloway's chucked him in there and played him away at the Britannia, I think says a whole lot about how confident he is and what the ability that he has and how much we believe in him.
Yeah, absolutely. Can be a real key player this year. As we sort of headed that sort of 15-minute to 30-minute period of the game, there was a key incident that I just started to ask Jell about before we realised that no one could hear us. And it was basically a fantastic pass, absolutely beautiful pass from Campagna to Joel Ward, who was really pushing up in that first half from the right back position. Got well inside the area and was just pushed straight over in the box. And I mean, he sort of gave an exasperated look towards the referee, but there was no strong appeal. And as I was saying before, I feel he has. We have to, as the club that we are in the Premier League, we have to actually appeal like we're appealing for a decision in the cricket. You know, scream "how's that" and demand a penalty. So, I mean, Joe, what's your view on that?
Well, just we're a small team, in with the big boys now. They can bully us and throw us about. And we're not going to moan about it, or at least harangue the referee like other teams do. Then just every time if you get a decision, you get kicked. You generally, if it's near a microphone, you hear that player who gets kicked, shout, go down, holding. They've been shot. But with Waldy, like you say, he just looked at the referee instead of screaming and going mad, turning around and berating the lino and just having a real go. I mean, if a penalty is obvious, it's obvious. I just think it's we're not small team mentality, but we have got some honest players. And I think we do need to put. If you've something, but get kicked, punch, whatever, you can have to start going down. Properly.
Well, the big thing is the lino as well, though. The linesman should see that, shouldn't he? Whether you agree with the ref should have seen that or not, the linesman was there. That's in front of him.
But Al, they've gone back to being linos when a couple of years ago they were assistant referees and they could have given it. And if you watch, a referee will give a decision like a throw on, and then immediately as he gives a decision, the linesman will then give it with his flag. It's the way it works now.
Yeah, but
I know what you're saying, Joe. No, it's the same, Joe. They do seem to be led. Barney, if I can bring you in, have you got a view on this penalty incident?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty clear from looking at it over and over again. I kind of agree with Joe and Alex a little bit there. I mean, I think it's a bit of a team problem. I think we've almost come into this league showing a little bit too much respect towards the opposition. A little bit. I noticed it at Spurs the other week. And certainly yesterday in the early period of the game, it's almost like we don't want to upset the big boys, and it's like, oh, hang on, we're on an away ground. Don't want to get the crowd on the wrong side. Maybe I'm looking into it too much, but yeah, Ward he was clearly brought down. I'm thinking of players like Suarez, Wilshere, and all these lot. When they go down in the box, they know they've got to appeal, and they don't give a flying if they really bug the home crowd or the away crowd. They just do it. They do it for the team. Whereas I just feel that we're a little bit polite at the moment, which is a bit weird coming from South London. We should be a little bit more bullish, and we should be calling these things.
No, I think part of me thinks that probably. Sorry, we have got a caller coming in. Go on, Mikey. Hello?
Hi, is that Whole Radio?
It is, yeah.
Do
you want to turn the radio down, mate, and you'll be able to hear us without getting confused?
Sure, yeah.
You can hear me again there.
Hi, it's Jared.
Oh, hi, Jared.
I just wanted to talk to Joe about what he was saying about the appeals for the penalties. I think going down the last bit of contact, I think that I remember Holloway was funny enough, it was when we played Stoke in the FA Cup. Holloway was complaining about the Stoke managers and the fans having a go as a half for what they thought was a dive when we should have had a penalty. And I think the honest approach we've got is quite a good read. I don't think we should start just going down when someone someone just lightly touches our shirt, because
No, but it's part of the game, Jared. That's the thing now. Listen, if we're not going to start doing it, everyone else is going to do it in our penalty area, mate. Honestly, this is the part of the Premiership. This is the thing that most people hate about the Premiership. The prima donnas, the way that you touch them and they go down clutching their leg like they've been shot or they've been punched, or it's the tricks of the trade. We've got players, only a few players that have played at any high level, and these are the tricks of the trade, mate. If you've got to play people at their own game. When we go to Liverpool and Man United, I'm telling you now, you as so much as blow at one of their forwards, I'd say they're going to go down quicker than you could turn around and say your own name.
I'm not sure it's true that the big clubs are always going to get the decisions. I mean, if you look at Gareth Bale, I mean, he was booked a good 5 times for diving last season. One of them I remember was against Sunderland, who are no giants in the league themselves. So I'm not sure if big teams always get the decisions. I remember Ian Holloway saying he finds any of his players if they dive. I'm not sure if that covers going down easily with a little bit of contact. But, I mean, then once you start talking about not going down easily, then you're looking at the Fair Play League, which could get us the Europa League spot. So I think the honest approach we've got is probably going to win us fans and neutral fans, and then the referees are going to start to see that we're not going to appeal for the penalties, because they've got a video review, so they will look back at the instance, and then they'll realise that just because we're not screaming and shouting and calling the ref every name under the sun doesn't mean that it's not a penalty. So I think that we will start to get the decisions when they realise that we're not going to shout from the rooftops if we do feel we deserve a penalty.
Well, fair play to you. I mean, everyone's got a view.
Joe. Listen, it's a fair point you make, Jared. I think, obviously we've got to move on from this topic, but I just think that at the end of the day, there was a decision that was not given, and I think a fair point. I've just lost Jared, but I think a fair reason for it not being given is that there was no strong appeal for it from anyone, and I just, that's the point we're making. I think that's the point that Joe's trying to make, is that you've got to approach the division with some realism. I mean, these things matter. It's nice to be doing the right thing. It's nice to for fair play and all that sort of stuff, but it's not necessarily about fair play. It's about even. It's about things being even, isn't it? It's about having an equal chance. And if one team is playing us, shall we say, pushing the rules a little bit, then of course you've got to play them at their own game. That's just how it is. That's kind of the nature of sport, if you like. If people do play on the edge, especially when it's highly competitive. But anyway, interesting discussion. But let's not dwell too much on it. Basically, you look at the incident. We should have had that penalty. It wasn't given, and it certainly won't. It wasn't even the first time this season. Definitely won't be the last time this season. So plenty of that to look forward to. I felt as we reached the half-hour period, we were really starting to dominate the game, really starting to look impressive. The football went from being sort of 2 touches to being 1 touch. The passes went from being in the direction of someone to being right to their feet. I thought we really started to look a Premier League side, and sure enough, on that half-hour mark, Shamak just scored a great goal. And well, Alex, what was the for the views from the stand of that goal?
Well, it was one of those clearances, Delaney clearances, where you go, oh, for God's sake, why are you just hoofing it? Take a touch and bring it down on the floor. But that time, Shawcross had an absolute mare. Shamak worked his arse off to get there, which obviously shows how hungry and determined he actually is to prove himself in this division. And he dropped his shoulder, dropped Shawcross and put it in the net. And it was just crazy, honestly, crazy. Seeing us score a Premier League goal was just out there. One of the best moments for sure, yeah.
Now, I mean, the goal itself, it was class what Shamak did. And funnily enough, the commentary team on the Canadians channel I was watching it on was saying that they're not, that's not the sort of player they imagine Shamak to be. And obviously he's not been playing first team football on a regular basis for a couple of seasons now, and you'd seen the videos on YouTube. He's good with his back to goal. He plays, it's good little into play, good little touches. Well, he's got a great touch, but basically, when you saw him out muscle Ryan Shawcross, I do think that was quite a surprise. But he gave both the Stoke centre backs a real hard time all game until he tired later on. And in terms of a finish, I mean, I think perhaps the fact that he didn't actually hit it that hard sort of didn't really do it justice, because it looked like almost. I mean, he's wrong footed the keeper. He's completely done him. He's shaped to curl it one side and then just sort of drilled it leisurely to the other. And it's up there in terms of debut goals with the best that I've seen. So it was just all about him. It was the individual, and it's funny. It came from the long ball that we've all kind of, like you say, we just don't want to see kind of the ball being smacked out of the from deep. Having said that, I think we'll certainly come on to that in a minute. Maybe not clearing the ball enough is perhaps also where we failed. But straight after that goal, there was a chance. Peter Crouch got a header on goal. Joel, did you see that one? And looked like a fingertip from Jules onto the bar and then back off him. Another Jules wonder save, perhaps. Joel?
Yeah, I'm here. Hello.
Hello, you going to talk to me?
But we're not going to win. In all honesty, Crouch is a good player, and he's being as tall as what he is. We shouldn't really be winning headers off him. I mean, there's people trying to apportion blame for the goal, but I can't see why. I mean, he has got sucked over a little bit, but it's just a good finish. He's got a lot of tricks. The thing is about the tall fella, he's got a lot of tricks. He's got very quick feet. Scoring goals for fun for England. So he's definitely good enough to play for Stoke, and he's definitely going to be as good, or if not better, than our defenders.
Well, listen, I mean, obviously, we're talking about the first half and the save that Joel made. But I mean, on Peter Crouch, I think he didn't even get to double figures with goals last season for Stoke, which was a bit of a surprise. And I think early on he seemed to struggle, and there was a couple of chances that he had against us where, I mean, there was one in that you sort of almost had to stoop to head it, and he kind of headed it backwards from the 6-yard box and things like that. I mean, he's one of those players, and he's always been nowhere near as strong with his head as you kind of imagine. He's better with his feet, which is a bit of a strange player. But okay. So I mean, basically that first half ended with Palace playing just lovely one-touch football, playing with belief and confidence, and it was just. I think Moxie had a couple of shots towards the end of the half as well, if I remember rightly. And if anything, and I'd sort of get your opinion on this, Barney, if I may. I felt at the end of that half we were playing with such dominance and such confidence that we didn't go for that second goal hard enough when we had the dominance. And I think if we'd have scored another before half time, you look at a completely different game. And I don't know, how'd you feel about that as a point?
Well, it's a very good point, and I think you could relate it back to the Spurs game as well. I feel that we've come out of the blocks really well actually in the first half, a lot better than what we were doing in previous seasons. And I think this kind of goes back for me as this kind of confidence thing. It's like we're in the Premier League, and I get the impression that some of the lads are really up for it, and some of them are just kind of got this sort of feeling of, is this where I really belong? Should we be? Is this the right place for me? Because I don't really feel that they're pushing forward. When I'm watching Palace at the moment, I'm getting really frustrated. They're taking it right up to the midfield. They're taking it outside the box. And I think we're putting a huge amount of pressure on this young lad Gale to get it in the back of the net. And I just don't feel that we've got that killer instinct, which we were so good at last season, And maybe that's because maybe it's a confidence thing. Maybe it's a change. I don't know, but we should have capitalised on our first half performance yesterday, and I think we just slipped I think we just had a bit of a lack of concentration, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this later on, so I won't talk about it sort of now. But this whole fitness issue is playing on my mind a little bit. So I think that's an interesting area. Can we see out a first half, and can we actually come back into the second half as strong as we finished the first half?
Yeah, well, look, Barney, last week it was the second half where we were better. I think Ian Holloway was right. He also mentioned fitness, but I think what we're looking at is fitness of key players. And when you look at the difference between the team that played against Spurs and the team that's played that first half so well against Stoke, the two of the best players on the pitch were Chamakh and Campagna, who have both been injured and not played an awful lot of football. Weirdly enough, both barely played much last season because of injury, and and not being in the side. I mean, obviously Chamak was at West Ham and just spent a season out on the bench. It's just, they've not played a lot of football, and I think match fitness wasn't there. And you saw similar from Jason Punchin, which we'll talk about. Great signing, fantastic signing for us, but in a first half where everyone was pretty good, he barely touched the ball. I felt, he was involved in a lot of the one-touch passing, but he really just, you didn't really see a lot of him in any kind of dangerous area. And he had one shot in the second half, but in terms of his debuts go, it wasn't particularly impressive, and wasn't a player that we saw with Southampton last year. Anyway, look, like you say, we got to half time. It was a great half. I felt incredibly proud of what I'd just seen, and the Palace fans were in fantastic voice. It was just great. It was really, really happy moment to get to half time 1-0 up. But one of the things that happens when you get to half time 1-0 up is you've got a difficult team talk if you're Ian Holloway, because with Mark Hughes, there's no doubt his team talk is, it's not going well enough. We're playing at home. You've got to get out there and do more. Got to get more bodies forward. Blah blah blah. And essentially, what I felt he did is I felt he used our tactics against us, and that was getting the fullbacks forward to keep. We did that to them first half. Second half, they did the same to us. I'll very very quickly go through the last little bits, and we'll get to some proper talking points. Stoke very much started that second half on the front foot, and we're crouched, missed a header under pressure from Chamak very early on in that half, but we just couldn't get possession. We're constantly having to play on the break, and there was a lot of poor defending. And Charlie Adam was the one who equalised. It was for 1-1. It was just couldn't get the ball clear. Eventually, falls to a Stoke player who strokes it in, and you think that's bad luck because we deserve better than that. And it's no more than a couple of minutes later, and pretty much the same thing happens. Chamak doesn't. I just noticed that Alex and Barney arguing. You can do that in a minute on air, lads. So basically, So Shawcross gets the same thing. A poor clearance, not a particularly good tackle from Chamak, and suddenly the ball's at his feet, swivels and smashes it went into the corner. And 5 minutes, 2 major errors of not clearing the ball. And when you clear a ball, it doesn't have to be up the field. It can just be out of play. You can put it out for a corner. You can put it out for a throw. Just sometimes you just got to take responsibility. And it worries me when I see that twice in quick succession, because you've got to wonder when you've got a central centre-back partnership of Gabardon and Delaney, and you just think they're not the sort of people who are quiet, are they? They're going to, they talk and they organise, and they one of them's going to claim that and clear it, but neither did. And it worries me. It worries me to see, because you can't switch off in the Premier League. You get punished. Even a team like Stoke that are in a transitional period at the moment, they punish you. And I think perhaps it's fair to say that, we've made some substitutions. We had Chamak and Campagna go off, both of whom looked different different players in the second half, looked tired. Passes were going astray, and obviously the lack of football caught up with them. Garvin and Williams came on. Punchin, obviously, like I say, went close, but he was still pretty quiet. And we pushed on, much more of a threat. But we're chasing the game, and I think the next best chance was Nzonzi who hit the post. So it's really still, in terms of the danger, it was all Stoke. Phillips came on for Punching a little bit later on. We tried to take a few risks, tried to get something. I think Gale had a great volley wide. It was a KG, I think, long pass into the right edge of the area, and he just great technique to volley it from that angle, but unfortunately nowhere near going in the net. But good intent. And
did anyone else shout Van Basten when that happened? Or was that just me?
It's probably just you, mate. But it was a similar angle, wasn't it? And I'll tell you, if it goes in, it's a fantastic debut goal. But it didn't, and we're left with a situation where a lot of people questioning him. Quite late on, Williams was fouled right on the edge of the area. I say it was a foul. He did bite it a little bit, but that's what he's like. With Johnny, he likes to knock the ball to one side and go over a trailing leg. It's a perfectly acceptable technique. But you sort of got this free kick in a dangerous area. You've got Kevin Phillips over it, Garvin over it, and Jednak, and you just think, I know what's going to happen here. Phillips has got his foot on it, so he's going to roll it to one side. The wall's going to charge out, and Jednak's going to smack it into the wall. And sure enough, that's what happens. I've never really understood that. Anyone tell me what the point? If you're going to have a direct shot or goal, can anyone tell me what the point of rolling it to one side to let the wall get closer is?
Because you've got pace on the ball, or a bit of movement on the ball. It's easy to strike, I guess. But still, I don't fancy any of those actually taking a set piece, to be fair, other than Garvin. And then he ran away from it.
It was the wrong perhaps the wrong angle for Garvin. But go on, Joe.
Well, Jednak's a captain, and he's just said roll it, and I'm going to smack it. He's captain. You don't listen to your captain, you're going to get a clump, or he's going to have words with you. So he's obviously said roll it sideways. I'm going to smack it. If he'd have gone in the bottom corner, like he did last, when he hit that curler against Millwall, we'd have all been screaming hurrah. But because he hit the wall,
I just don't get it when there's a wall.
I know what you're saying. I'd rather you got a fancy carving anywhere around your area. You got a fancy carving, surely.
Well,
but
I thought like I said, I can understand Garvin not taking it because of the angle. I think it didn't really favour the left footer, but it's just for me. I think if you're going to hit it, if Jedinak can hit a dead ball, I mean, I know, giving it a bit of movement, maybe shifting the angle, you can get it, but ultimately, if you're going to drill that ball, you're better off drilling it with a bit of distance, aren't you?
Yeah, have you seen him take a free kick though?
Yeah, I have. Yeah,
they go in the stand. That's why.
Yeah.
He wants his head over the ball, doesn't he? For those, you needed Dobby there, really, didn't you?
Yeah, I think ideally, but again, it's one of those. It was perhaps a little bit close in to get it up and over a wall, so there's a bit I can understand about it. But I think basically, in most of the time, I probably only remember Michael Hughes scoring from a free kick that was rolled to him and drilled. It's probably the only player I can ever remember getting one goal from that technique. It's maybe my brain is playing tricks on me, and some listeners can tell me otherwise. But I just hate to see it. I just hate seeing that technique.
But we're picking one. We're picking just sort of one. We're 3 poor moments really in the whole game. A free kick and then conceded 2 goals. In the whole 90 minutes really. And we got bullied, completely bullied, because there was some, not say rash, there was some strong tackles out there from the Stoke players. But then when you're up against Stoke, you know what you're coming up against people like Shawcross and that. I mean, for the goal, and Shamak shrugged him off, then he dipped his shoulder, cut inside, and put that ex-Chelsea on his arse, and put in a corner. We're thinking it's happy days. So they can be found out. It's just we just need to. We just need to have a little bit more experience, another few games. I think we'll find our feet.
Oh yeah, listen. I mean, obviously we're going through the game, going through the incidents. Brought that incident up because it was essentially our last chance to get a goal in that game. We just didn't create anything after that. But I'm not down on the performance, not down on the individual players at all, or the team. I still think it was a step forward. I don't think the result was a step forward. I think the result was a poor result in the circumstances, but I think the performances do matter. I mean, I know it's a results business, but if you're going out and you're losing, and believe me, there's a lot of people out there who were suspecting we'd be beaten 3 or 4 by all the teams at the moment, and we've actually started the season. We played Tottenham at home and we played Stoke away. It's 2 very tough games. They're all tough games, but particularly tough to start that way, and we deserve something out of both games. So I don't think there's any sense in getting too upset about it. But we're here to sort of bring a bit of analysis. And I thought when you're in, we've just seen ourselves punished for 2 defensive errors, and when you're given an opportunity very late on in the game to get a strike in a goal and you waste it, I think it's criminal at Premier League level to do that. And I think those are the things. I don't know. To me, it just takes 5. Just a little thought from them, like what we actually doing here, and I don't know what to say really. I can understand that it's easy with hindsight to criticise, like you say, Joe. Could drill it and it goes straight in that bottom corner, and I'd never have even mentioned it. I'd be thinking
next time I see Jedi, I'll tell him what you said.
Right? Yeah, tell
him to ring up and he can tell you where to go.
No, all I say is I hate the second I see anyone with their foot on the ball about to roll it from a direct free kick. I won't even bother watching. It's just not worth it. It works for other teams. Don't get me wrong. It's like short corners. I love short corners for other teams because they always work. But for us, see us take a short corner, I'll just have a little sit down and a sleep for a bit because it's not going to do anything. It's just one of those things where it's one of those. It's like like Palace always do that. Like Palace have a certain type of player that they produce, if you like. We very rarely, produce centre backs or out and out centre forwards and stuff like that. But we're good at producing wingers and things. It's like they're just Palace traits, and for me, it's a Palace trait not to be able to take a short corner and also not to be able to defend one. So there we go. Anyway, I'll stop ranting. I think maybe
can we let our girls have a fight about Moxie?
Yeah, we can. Yeah,
because what they're doing, what people don't, I don't know if people know how to set up at this show is we do this via Skype, and what we've got is a little box where we can basically talk to each other if we want to come in and say, and then Chris directs it all, and for the last nearly 10 minutes, Barney and Alex have been slaughtering each other to the point where shut the F up, good call, you muppet, and they're coating each other off. So I reckon Barney hates him.
Can I just say, it's like the way they're insulting each other. It's been like watching a text episode of The Sweeney. You slag, no, you slag. But listen, I want to bring us into this, right? Right. I mean, we've talked about the game, we've talked about performance, we've talked about a few individuals, and there's been a lot of mention. But I want to get into specifics now with Dean Moxey. Now I want to start by saying on Twitter after the game, Dino took some abuse, which I think we're all agreed is unacceptable. So hopefully no one's going to be doing that when they start talking in a minute, you two. No one will be abusing the player.
No, it's embarrassing.
No, yeah, okay, but no, Joe. No, go on then, Joe.
No, I'm just saying, it's unjust. Firstly, we're 2 games in, and secondly, he wears his heart on his sleeve. He plays for our club. He's not a player that plays for the money. You know, he does as good as he can do.
Also, on that point, Joe, I just want to make my own view clear before I let these two argue it out. I'm someone who was really concerned that in the left back position, and even with Parr fit, I think both Dean Moxey and Johnny Parr, I had question marks over how they would perform at this level. Right, I'll say that now completely honestly. And Moxey, for me, against Tottenham and against Stoke, has probably been you put the 2 performances together, has probably been the best player.
Absolutely.
I've been absolutely shocked at him going forward. Going forward, he's just offered a fantastic option. His crossing maybe wasn't great, but then again, what's he got to cross to? We don't get a lot in the box at the moment, and that's another problem altogether. But I think he's just played that role, which. It's a lot of responsibility because we're playing a very, very narrow with the three up top, basically. They're not orthodox wingers, and people forget that. They've got license to roam across that front area. And I think to basically defend against 2 players and to be responsible for the attacking width, it puts a lot of pressure on both Ward and Moxey in that system. So I'll be interested to hear we'll start with Barney because he's presenting the opposing view to that, and Alex can give the rebuttal. Barney.
Well, I think first of all, yeah, you're right. No, all this stuff that's on Twitter last night is totally, stupidity. And what I'm trying to make is look, Moxey's is a good player. There's, but in a certain league, and I don't think he's going to be the guy that's going to cut it in the Premier League. Yeah, he has a good couple of spells, but he's not consistent enough. And I'm sorry, but that left side is getting drilled, absolutely drilled. And he does a couple of good things, and that's fine, that's great, but hang on a minute, we're in the big league now, all right? We've said previously, earlier on in the show, if you blip for one moment, you're going to get punished, and I see him as that little leak within the whole back line. And even against Spurs, constantly he was getting covered by the 2 centre-halves, and even by the midfield he was getting covered. And look, he's a good player for the Championship, but look, we're in the Premier League now. Selhurst Park was all right last year, but it wasn't quite good enough. We need to step it up a game. And Moxey, I feel, needs to step it up a game. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh, okay? It is 2 games in. But last year, we were slating him on here a little bit. We weren't. I don't think we were Moxey's biggest fans on this programme last year.
We're everyone's fans. No, look, I
think he's a good... Chris, look, he's a good player. I just think... Maybe maybe it's a confidence thing. I don't know, but he just doesn't seem sure enough on that left side for me.
Listen, I do think any player is perfectly up for any sort of criticism, but I'm just not seeing why it is. Personally, I just don't understand where this is coming from. What specifics it's coming from? Alex, your point of view, please.
I'd just like to say I wasn't Moxey's biggest fan last year. I give you that straight out. But now I just want to say, Barney, did you go to the Spurs game?
Yeah.
Did you see Aaron Lennon playing? Because I only saw him in Moxey's back pocket.
Yeah, but I saw Jedinak just come back and covering him all the time. Jedinak was covering... That was nothing to do with Moxey that game. Spurs, Jedinak absolutely was covering Moxie all the time.
Who was playing left wing that game?
Well,
who was covering for Moxie when he had Kyle Walker and Aaron Lennon sprinting at him? You saw on Showboat on Soccer AM, Dean Moxie, nutmeg.
Go on now.
You're talking about one thing. You're talking about one little thing. I'm talking about 90 minutes here.
Number one,
I'm talking about a consistency about the whole game, Alex. We need consistency.
Back pocket.
Fantastic. Moxie can do these lovely little tricks and whatnot. He has a couple of really nice little parts throughout the game. Look, I'm not mocking the player. I'm just saying
he's Moxie.
That he's just. I don't think he's consistent enough.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Gavram.
Last 2 games, he's proved he's consistent.
Alex, you didn't. Obviously, you got shouted over quite a lot. Trying to make a point there. Well,
sorry, Alex. You have your point.
I think. Well, listen. I don't dwell too much longer on this. It's because we missed 10 minutes of the show to not making any sort of sounds to people, so we're running a little bit behind. But just to pick up on Football Promos has tweeted in saying, "Why does Moxie do so many slide tackles? Best defenders stay on their feet." And I think that's an interesting point. I mean, Moxie does go to ground a fair bit, and do you know what? I take into account something that Barney said about the attacks coming down the left side. That was a feature against Spurs, but as you pointed out, Alex, not many actually were successful. Unfortunately, when they are successful, you do notice it. And this is something I'm going to say as well. I think both sides of the pitch, we do let too many crosses come in. We're susceptible to crosses. I feel Jules isn't. He'll come and catch the ball, but he isn't the sort of keeper that comes out and dominates, the penalty area, with catching high. So I do think we are susceptible to crosses, and I do think that's obviously the fullback has a role in stopping those. But our system asks different things of the fullback. It's not an orthodox fullback position, and I think basically quite often either Dean Moxie or Joel Ward are trying to mark 2 players, and that's a very, very difficult skill. And they've done all right this season so far, and they've more than offered the attacking threat as well. Joel?
Oh, the Spurs, when Spurs attack, they have predominantly over the last few years have been their best attacking option is down the right hand side, where all their pace is. So to pick Moxie out again for the Spurs to say it was, he got ripped to shit down his wing, that's completely unfair. That is completely unfair. When he comes, what are we going to do? Come up against the best winger in the world? No, but what I'm saying is, but people are ruining Moxie, right? Oh man, what the flying fuck!
All right.
Hello.
Are we all back? What's going on?
I don't
know. Mike, are we live?
Hello. Right. I think we've got people. We're back live. Oh, it's going really well today.
Moxie overload.
Yeah, I think. Dino might have been hacking away at Mikey's internet there, but we're back anyway. Look, I think we'll draw a line under the Dean Moxie argument for a second there. And just say, I think most of us sort of agree that, there's a point to debate there, but I think it's the system that we're talking about here. I think it puts different demands on fullbacks than maybe people appreciate. But certainly, I think after 2 games, after 2 incredibly promising performances, I don't see the sense in picking out individuals. And more to the point, I can't honestly say that Moxie is one deserving of that. Obviously, Barney has his view, and Alex has his view, and Joe has his view, and that's the way it should be. But talking of people being picked out and discussed, as our record signing, Dwight Gale is going to get a lot of attention, probably from the fans more than the media. A difficult first game against Spurs when he was played slightly out of position. I think we've got. We've kind of got 2 sort of opposing point of views again, I suppose, really. There's people like myself who think that he's showing a lot of promise, but we're going to have to be very patient. I don't think he's had anywhere near an outstanding sort of game in any way, in either game, but I think he's shown what he's got, which is, good pace, good strength, a good touch, and a desire to get a shot away at goal. So nothing major yet has happened. to sort of talk about in terms. But we talked about that volley earlier on. But there are those who are writing him off after 2 games. Alex, if I start with you, first of all, what was the general consensus at the Stoke game of how Gale was playing?
Yeah, I think a lot of people enjoyed his performance. The fact that who remembers Wilfred Zaha when he first came on the scene? How many misplaced passes and whatever did he create? But when he's on the ball, he looks dangerous. He always looks like he can create something or he can come up with a goal. Dwight Gale's been playing left wing against Spurs. He played centre midfield. That's not his position. He's a centre forward. I think if he can get in those, if he gets the chance to get in those positions, I think him and Shamak, there might be something to build on there because Shamak brings the ball down nicely, but. There's definitely something about Dwight Gale for me. I think he's got so much confidence, and I think he's just waiting for that goal to come. And I think he really do think he can get a few this year.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I think that first goal is all important. Unfortunately, I think it might be a while coming because he's not really getting anything clear cut. He's having to shoot from angles because he's used to sort of like finding his own space and playing centrally, and coming from out wide, he's not really getting a direct effort on goal. I think. Joe, I mean, well, you've always got an interesting point of view of things. Can you see any points to the sort of negative side of it? Is there anything that worries you about about the signing, about the money we've spent, whether it'll be worth it or not?
What, after 2 games?
Well, yeah, exactly.
With 2 games. I mean, listen. I was just before we all got cut off. I was just. This is what we got to be up. What we're up against, right? Is that, like I said, £2 to £3 million. Most of our players were worth. I would have thought Jednak maybe a little bit more coming up from the Championship. We're still playing with 3/4 of that squad, right? When we come up against our Spurs and they've got 150 million on the pitch, they've built a squad over years. They've had right backs in. Gone, he ain't much good. We'll get someone else in. They can afford to go and spend 20 million, 25 million on a forward, And the thing is, we haven't got that kind of money. We've been down that road twice. Right, with the thrown money at it and failed dismally. Now, and the other thing as well is behind the scenes, not just on the pitch, but behind the scenes, the club has suffered. We have to look at the whole picture. And the thing is, for years and years, Palace people that have been following Palace for years have never been told the whole picture. With Steve Parish being the voice of the 4, right? He tells us at the picture. He comes on our show and he meets us face to face in a pub and he tells us the truth about what's going on, about the whole picture, about the training ground, about the club, about the stands, about the boxes, about the pitch, about the cables, and he tells us. Do you remember he said? We said, how much is that going to cost in? And he said, well, it's just over £1 million. We had to pay £1 million, right, to have the goal line technology put in. Now, they haven't paid for it. Our club have paid for it. Now, if we didn't have to pay for that, right, then that's another £1 million on a player or another £20,000 a week in wages to someone else. But the fact is, we've had to pay out so much in this first year, millions and millions. Next year, if we survive, we've got those millions to spend on players because we can focus our money on the team as well as a bit more money for the grounds.
Listen,
it just makes me sick.
Yeah, I know, mate. Listen, to be honest, you've hit the nail on the head about how I'm feeling at the moment as well. It's, obviously you put it in very strong terms, but I can't help but agree because I think, first of all, Ian Holloway's mentioned it enough times to know that it's been a problem. In that we've started because we've got up through the playoffs. We're a couple of weeks behind the other 2 that went up. If you think about when the Premier League season ended. We're behind all of those people as well because they all knew where they were playing. Us, we didn't know where we were playing for quite some time. There's a limited amount of work. Don't get me wrong, I know work was done, but long before we knew which division we were going to be in, lists were drawn up depending on what division we were going to be in, and all sorts of ideas and things were floated and talked about. But you can't do anything decisive until you know what division you're in. And the difference between the Premier League and the Championship is just too extreme to really do anything that can sort of fit for both. But the bigger point that Joel's talking about, the off-field stuff, I think it's probably taken everyone by surprise just how much there was to do. And I got told a few things on the Spurs game about the things that weren't done on time that hopefully will be done by the Sunderland game. And it's just amazing what they've had to do. And there'll be problems. There'll be teething problems with the new systems and all that sort of stuff. It's a lot of money, and everyone reads about how much money it is in the paper. Yeah, it's great. It's a huge sum of money. But you know what? it'll be so easy to spend it as well because there's so many people who are willing to take it off you, telling you that their player's the guy that's going to make the difference to you. That what was it Steve Parrish said when we saw him in the Port Manor, 1,000 players or something like that.
Yeah,
they had a list, and you think how the hell can anyone filter through 1,000 players? I saw quite a good thing on I think it was on the BBS about the system that clubs are using for scouting these days. It's like an online system that they all register on, and it's fascinating.
Football Manager.
Yeah, I mean, it pretty much is. Funnily enough, there's people who have done the ratings in Football Manager who've gone on to be professional scouts. It really does make me laugh, but people do write it off and talk about it as a joke. But some of the people who research that game know an awful lot about football. So, Joe, you wanted to make a quick point there.
Well, Steve Parrish used an analogy when we were in the Port Manor just at the end of the season, a racing analogy, and he said that the Championship is like racing Renault Clios, and the Premiership is Formula One. That's the difference between the two. He said that's an easy analogy to make, and you can understand. And this is the thing: it's like you say, when we take our little team or our little £20 million team up to Old Trafford, and there's 78,000 people in there in a £600 million stadium because it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger their capacity. We're 20 years behind them, 30 years behind Man United. That team that they turn around and say, you never win anything with kids. If they had that team now, they'd murder us. But we're 20 years on. They've all finished, well, most of them, apart from Giggs, finished their careers now. But what I'm saying is, that 1990 final, had we beaten Man United, right? None of this Man United thing would have ever happened because Ferguson would have got sacked. But what I'm saying is, it's taken Man United all that money and they expand their club. We got this stop this mentality of coating everyone when things immediately go wrong, and we haven't got 100 million quid. We might have been given 100 million, whatever that 100 million pound game meant, but the thing is, we haven't got 100 million pounds to spend. We've got to spend it on other stuff, and if it all goes tits up.
Look, you're absolutely right. Like you said, Steve Parrish talked about it, he's before on a couple of occasions, and said the major problem when they came in and took the club over is that the only thing that you can think what we like about Simon Jordan, but he did spend money because we got into the position we got into. But what he spent the money on was the team. It was always the team, and no attention had been paid at all to the ground, the infrastructure around it. I think Ian Holloway referred to his office as a dungeon when he joined, and he was sort of laughing and joking with the press that finally his little dungeon had changed. It's got nice wooden flooring, and he's got a few fridges in there, and for once he wasn't ashamed to just take the opposition manager into his office for a chat after a game. And people might laugh at that, or people might even look at it and say, "Oh, what we wasting money on that for?" But it makes a difference. It makes a huge difference to the mentality of people working there. It will change the manager's mentality, make him feel more positive and more professional about the fact that he's a Premier League manager and he's actually got a decent surrounding. He's not embarrassed about where he's working and things like that. You've got to change attitudes, and that goes for fans as well. There are a degree of supporters that, let's face it, we had near enough 10,000 people in the ground against Tottenham who weren't there last season, and a fair percentage of those people are only there because it's Premier League football, and they're not gonna be tolerant. They're not going to be the sort of people who are reasonable. Half of them probably don't even know a thing about the players that they're watching. You genuinely, if you sort of sit and listen, there's people who haven't been there for so long. You can tell by the shirts that they're wearing. They've got their tulip computer shirts on, and the
Gabiches have come back in fashion.
That's it. Yeah. No, to be honest, I'm not. It's to a point, it sounds like I'm slagging those people off. I'm not really. I'm just saying. I'm not. Well, I know you are, but I'm saying, in my point of view, that they're the people who you've got to get their passion back for following Palace, and it won't happen with them all. Is what I'm saying. It won't. Some of them just won't be around long enough and won't be able to tolerate the fact that ultimately we're going to lose more than we're going to win at the moment. And I don't know. I think we've got to change the mentality of those people, but let's not get caught up in it. You see, all this negativity that we're talking about, and all these people moaning at individual players. They are a minority. They don't feel like it on social media, and they don't feel like it on the message boards, because they're the ones with the loud voices. They're the ones that are dissenting and because the people who are satisfied, or the people who are enjoying themselves being a Premier League club and having a laugh and a drink with the mates, they're not on message boards directly after a game, because they're still travelling home, or they're still at the pub having a joke and a laugh with their friends, and they're not the ones on Twitter, because why would they be? They've got nothing but,
drowning their sorrows.
Exactly. It's just not it's not real. None of that's real, I don't think. You just kind of, it's easy to get caught up in it, and you think, oh, why is everyone moaning? Well, it's not everyone moaning. It's the usual people that are moaning.
It's the other thing, Chris. It's hard to get caught up in it. But the thing is, you get caught up in it because you want to defend the team. I want to defend Moxie. Moxie's playing out of his skin. But if he's playing out of his skin and it really, really isn't good enough, right, after 20 games, well, after 10 games, I think you'll see Parker come in, and then after that, if it all, I just don't get it. But I can't sit by and let people coat our players and coat our team, but because they go out there, we will be one of the most honest teams out there. And when I mean that, I mean by honest, by endeavour, and going out there and playing for the badge and not for the bank.
Yeah, no, it's not. I was talking to a mate of mine last night about it, and we were just sort of laughing about a few people and things that they were saying about after the game, and we're just thinking, come on, none of us thought last season that we were going to get promoted until, if you talked to me after the Bristol City game last year, you'd have barely got a sentence in any way positive from me about our chances of going up. I'd have laughed in your face. Well, we're there now, right? We are there, and I just think that as much as I want to defend, we were just talking about it, and I was just saying, look, I am going to enjoy it. It doesn't mean we can't be ambitious, and we can't want to win football matches, and we can't want the team to get better players, and we can't, get disappointed after results. Of course, we can do all of those things, but it doesn't mean you don't. Why do it if you can't enjoy it? Alex.
I just want to say, start of last season, we lost 3 games in a row because we were unprepared. And it seems the same thing, 2 games in a row this time. It doesn't mean that the season's over because of 2 games. We just need to stick with it, and we need to believe in everybody, because a large proportion, our team is built on team spirit, and that won't keep you up. No, I'm not saying that, but a large proportion of us staying up is going to be down to team spirit, and a lot of that's going to come from us as the fans and sticking behind these players. There's 38 games this year. We've done 2. We lost 3 games at the start of last season and still got promoted, and we're first for a bit of it. So it just suggests, I'm not saying we're going to win the league. I'm just saying it's possible we can stay up. It's not over.
Barney.
Yeah, I just wanted to come in. I think you summed it up really nicely there, Chris. Let's not get down about this. We're doing so well. I was so proud of Selhurst, the first game of the season. I just thought the stadium looked fantastic, and I'd been out on a night out on the Saturday night, and I got the train back, and I only live about 10 minutes away from the ground, and they were still working until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, Sunday morning. Yeah. Which that they're well up for this, and I turned up to this ground, and it looked fantastic. Everybody seemed to be in a great mood, and the atmosphere. My friends said it could. The Sky commentators, they couldn't even hear them because the atmosphere was that good in Selhurst. Yep. And these are such unique things, and I think we're okay to come on and we can have our laugh about certain players and whatnot, and we can have disagreements and we can question, because I think that's what we should do. We're fans, we're honest fans. We pay our money for our season ticket. We can question and have a laugh about it, but sure as hell, you're right. We've got to be 110% behind this team. We're not going to win the league. We're going to struggle, but you know what? We've got a bit. We can stay up in this league, and we just got to believe that we can. We've got to start going for it now.
Yeah, it goes. That's the team, and that's a certain section of the support as well. Have got to believe it, and have got to, understand their role in it. Ian Holloway, said the same thing after the Spurs game. He talked about how much the fans made a difference, and the fans really did. And for me, the telling point, I'm sure Alex will say the same thing about the away support up at Stoke was fantastic. I mean, that was loud and clear on the stream I was watching, and I imagine it was pretty impressive at the ground, Alex.
Yeah, and going back to the Spurs game, we sung the players off to "We Love You." We sing that when we score, and that's everything about us. a lot of clubs that wouldn't mean a lot to, but those players walking off there with us singing "We love you" to them, that meant a lot because those boys are playing for us. And Holloway says it every week, is they don't realise how much they actually mean. And at Stoke, first half, we got a little bit comfortable and the fans were singing and they're going, yeah, we can do this. We really, really can do this. And 2 sloppy mistakes because a lack of concentration, but we kept singing and we nearly got back in the game because we're a large part of this. We can't get bogged down on results because if we get bogged down, they're going to get bogged down. And if we start singing, if we overperform, they'll overperform.
The point I'm really getting to as well. You're absolutely right in what you say, Alex. But for me, the point is even more relevant that all this negativity on social media, and on the message boards, all of that negativity, it just doesn't translate to the people who are at the game. No. It's easy to get carried away and you think, oh, why are the fans being so negative? The people who are at the game are not. There's moaners in the ground, don't get me wrong, but they're drowned out by all of the people who are there supporting the team. And you know what? Sometimes at the end of the game, even the most supportive of people will have a bit of a moan when they're frustrated. But during the game, they're 100% behind the team. And that's not going to change. That's not going to change this season. I think even if we're still bottom on 0 points at Christmas, I don't think that'll be any different. I think
the thing is with Twitter though, you can get straight to the players, and that's what bothered me. That somebody would actually go out their way to go and abuse Dean Moxey. It's quite embarrassing for me.
Well,
really.
Unfortunately, then what they're going to have to do is what Damo and the boys did last year. He's come off it. I mean, as much as you don't, eventually you're going to buy it. You're going to get so much shit. You are going to buy it. And then what happens is, when they don't get a buy it, they turn it personal. Like they turned it personal against Steve Parish. And then they turned it personal against Dean Moxey's wife last year. Just, you can't escape it. You've got to come away from it. I do understand. As much as you go, well, it's social media. I'm a person. When I'm not playing football, I want to be on it. But to take some of the tirade of abuse that he got last year and then for it to start after 2 games already, the whiners and the moaning about him is just unjust. And, some of us have to stand up and just stand up against these people. It's just...
Barney, you got a quick point?
Yeah, just a quick one. Just want to say, Joe, I think you're dead right. I mean, I think there's got to be a bit of management here from the people above here. When I grew up, they always used to say, players never used to get the papers into the training ground to read the back pages. It might just be a case where someone needs to look after these young lads. Remember, most of them are still in their 20s, and just say, look, just pull back from this, because what we don't need is the confidence being broken in that squad. We need some of the older players coming in and saying, just forget about it, turn your phones off, get to the training ground, put the effort in, and let's go have a good game on Saturday.
Well, I think with people do forget there are positives to Twitter as well. Because there was a damn sight more people who go and tell the players, you had a great game, don't let it get you down, all that sort of stuff. I'm sure a lot of the players will tell you that they get a lot of comfort from it as well. So I think it'd be a shame if people but you have to be a certain type of person. I mean, I know from doing this, every now and then we'll get someone send a shitty email to us, or someone will make a little comment or something like that. And even though I'm quite thick-skinned, as you know,
Well, send the boys round.
Yeah, I just genuinely don't care what people say, but ultimately, even I'll admit that even that one little negative point, especially if you slightly agree with them, which is what happens to me. Sometimes they'll say, "Oh, that was a load of rubbish." I think, yeah, well, it was, and then it just stays with you a little bit. And I don't know, as a supporter, I would personally be really worried about that if I wanted to. But I'm not the sort of person who would ever make an individual point to an individual player and say, you were doing that, because what do I know? I'm just a person who watches football. I don't see what right I've got to go and tell someone, oh, you ain't playing for the shirt or whatever, because it doesn't take a bright person to understand the dedication that those people have to have made to actually get to the point where they're playing professional football, let alone at this level, and let alone be that successful. Their own personal pride in what they do, would mean that there's never a case where they're not trying. Well, not never, I suppose you can never say never, but genuinely people sometimes have an off day, and I think it's completely outrageous to then go and seek that person out and then tell them it, especially if they don't know you. You don't go and do that. You don't go to someone you don't know and say, oh, you're rubbish. It just don't make any sense to me. It's just completely alien. But like I say, it happens. And what you've got to be able to do these days is just to not care. Jill?
Oh, just on a social media positive, since we've been talking about it for the last 15. Yannick tweeted, I can't remember if it was yesterday or today, I've been on it so much. He said it not long before I'm back, which is, it's good news. I think we've missed him. I really do. He had some fantastic games last year. I know he bounced off of Wilf a lot, but I think he's a huge bonus to have back in the side. He's a huge attacking option. So good news. That's a positive.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Right. Okay. Listen, we've gone on a bit longer than intended. The reason for that was the deathly silence at the start of the show, apart from some typing noises. Apparently, me being heard in the background, which I think was possibly through someone's speakers. Who knows? But ultimately, we're now at the point where we're going to take a look ahead. We've sort of given our review and general points on the game. I just want to talk to a little bit about the 4-word reviews that we got in, and something that we didn't discuss just before we get onto the previews. Dave Carmate on Twitter said shit refs cost points. There was a lot of talk about the referee. I have to say, until I went on Holmesdale after the game, I hadn't really given the referee a second thought. Obviously, he'd missed the penalty earlier on, Ward, but I didn't really notice much else. But I think there was a very different opinion at the game, Alex.
Yeah. He got booed off big time. I think from our perspective, it was 50-50s. I like Johnny Williams a couple of times, and from you see something very differently when you're sitting in that away end where you do on the TV. I've rewatched the match, and I would probably say maybe I was a little bit harsh to boom off, but it was a clear penalty how he missed that, and a couple of other little niggles here and there, but it wasn't disastrous.
Okay. Cheers, mate.
The nice thing to boo off was Mark Hughes as well, though, because he started giving it to us. So
really?
Yeah.
God, I hate that man.
He was aiming a lot of stuff towards us, so it's fun winding up Sparky.
Yeah, he's definitely got it coming. There's a few we've talked about this, but in a similar vein. So I'll pick a couple out. There was Gary T123 says fantastic start, poor finish. Ben Angel says shouldn't have switched off. Jay Harding says unfortunate defending, otherwise promising. And in a similar vein, Stuart Shave, who is one of our new presenters, who'll be on this season, who you'll hear plenty from, he said more positives than negatives. So the general consensus was that it was a spell where we switched off, but it was all very encouraging and promising. There's not too many people who were slagging the team off at all, and I think that kind of emphasises the point we were making about Twitter and about the message boards, in that generally people are either blaming the ref or essentially pointing out that we actually did have a good game, but for the errors, and we have got to cut those errors out. There's no denying that, and there's no point. As much as we're saying we've got to enjoy it, there's no point in just being there for the sake of being there. We've got to give the Premiership a real go, and to emphasise that, the last one I'll pick out was Andrew Greasby on Facebook, who said harsh reality of Premiership, and I think that kind of sums up our first 2 games. Is that we've shown we can compete at this level, but there's another little level to go up between. There's not competing, which is something we feared, and unfortunately that has not happened. So, but there's just that little level where you just tighten up that little bit, and you just keep that concentration a little bit more. And I don't think we're too far away from it. So there we go, Bristol City time. Let's talk about that. It's just really, really quick, guys. I'll take you through what's happened to Bristol City so far this season. Obviously, they played a few more games than the Premier League, so they've got four league games they've played. They've only picked up 2 points from 2 draws. In the first day of the season, they drew 2-2 with Bradford, and in their last game yesterday, they drew 2-2 with MK Dons, where Jason Banton is on loan. Other than that, they've lost to Wolves, they've lost to Coventry in a ridiculous game that ended 5-4 to Coventry. And in the League Cup, they got their only win of the season, which was against Gillingham, where they won 2-0. So they're up next on Tuesday night. I'll be going down to Bristol myself for that one, hoping to finally see a win at Ashton Gate. I've never seen us win there.
Don't jinx it.
No, well, you say don't jinx it, but it's just one of those grounds. It's just horrific.
Horrible.
It's always horrible. You go there, you've got the noisiest part of their fans who are just right next to you within throwing distance. Not that I've ever thrown anything at them, but I really want to.
Yeah, I stood next to them a few years ago. Horrible
It's
people.
just and then even when we were like, it's true, they are horrible people.
Yeah, they are. They really are.
I always have great fun before the game, wandering around asking people if they've had my barley. But other than that, you got my barley? Has anyone got my barley? But they don't take too kindly to that. I'm going to get a smack at some point. But basically, we never really enjoy that particular trip. There's always about 7 or 8 minutes injury time. It's usually 1 or 2 goals from Bristol City in it. So I'm really hoping that with 2 divisions between us, we go down there and give them a bit of a tonking. So really, guys, the question is, what sort of a team are we going to put out, and what do we see? Just noticed Alex Brighton, a Bristol fan, swung a traffic cone at you.
Yeah, that was 2-2 draw a few years ago, 2-0 up. That was before the match. I was just walking around and he decided to try and attack me with a traffic cone.
Mikey said, Mikey's our producer, and he said that was me.
Unless Mikey's about 50 and he's from Bristol, I'm not sure it was him.
You must have met him. I mean, Mikey is secretive and never turns up to any of our events. But
I've seen Mikey. Yeah, it wasn't Mikey.
Okay. Anyway, so I mean, I won't ask you all your opinion on it. Well, basically, Ian Holloway said that it's the sort of thing where we're not going to play a weakened team because he said he's got into trouble in the past playing kids in the cup, which he did at Blackpool. Got some stick for that, I think. I think he played a weakened team in the Premier League just against Man United.
Yeah,
I think.
Villa. I think it was.
Villa.
Villa.
That was United, I think.
There was United, so he saved the players for a more winnable game, and he got grief for that. But anyway,
he got a fine.
Yeah. But I think the main point is if you think about match fitness is needed for certain players. I would say certainly Punch and Campagna and Chamak need matches, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them play. And really, it's about confidence as well. If we play a full team, and we haven't got. It's not a 46 game season. We're not in any European competitions or anything like that, and we had a disrupted sort of pre-season with the situation we had with getting people in and all that. So I think we've got to go and play a full strength team, and I can't. If we play a full strength team, I just can't see any other result than us comfortably winning. Joe?
Yeah, you just nicked one of my points. We're 6 or 8 games better off this year, and the other thing as well, if it's going to give people like Gale a chance to get your shooting boots on really and have more of a chance of scoring against lower league defenders. But yeah, we can use it for fitness, but we don't have to. Sorry, I'll just see what was been written. The boys are arguing again. But no, just think we can work on a bit of fitness, and we the squad we've got now. I mean, I think we've possibly got about 8 central midfield players now. But like I say, Campagna needs a bit more time, a bit more pitch time. 60 minutes for him will be fantastic. But yeah, just. These are one of the things now where we're now seen as the big fish, aren't we? We're going down there. It's a potential banana skin for us. It's. But I can't see anything but a comfortable win. Yeah. Maybe maybe them scoring 1 and us scoring lots.
Yeah. No, I want us to go down there, play off proper defence. I want it to be a clean sheet, and I want us to win comfortably. Whether that will happen or not, I don't know. And to be honest with you, if we go out the cup, I'm not exactly going to cry about it. I probably will on the day because it would be another horrible result at Bristol City. But I think we've got every reason to be optimistic about it, and I think it serves a different purpose this year. I think we've covered why that is, but I just think when you were talking about our sort of championship seasons, the cups always feel like a distraction. They're a nice distraction sometimes, and last season we got all excited because we got to go and play Stoke in the cup.
Yeah, but it was money. There was money last year, wasn't it? That's what it was.
But, you know what I mean? It's like, and then all of a sudden you're just thinking, we just played them, and it felt completely different. And last season we lost up there quite convincingly, but we all felt it was a promising performance, and everyone was happy.
Only
and then yeah. But I mean, I don't want to get bogged down in that. Let's I'm not going to go into predictions for ourselves. I think we only got a couple of predictions in on Twitter at most. I think one of them said 7-0 as well. Who was that? Barry says, who cares? Sooner out of the cup, the better, which is an interesting point of view. And Jim has gone with 7-0 to Bristol City. So thanks for that, guys. Okay, so that's the Bristol City look ahead done. We'll have a quick look to Sunderland now. Sunderland have got a point from their 2 games. They drew 1-1 with Southampton. They were 1-0 up until the 88th minute when our ex-centre-back Jose Font, or Fonte as I prefer calling him, managed to equalise. I think the general consensus is Sunderland might well be a club that ends up down there with us at the end of the season. We sort of perhaps thought that about Stoke as well, but what do you think, Barney, about that? Is can we say third game in that it's an important game to be? Obviously, they're all important, but does it have any extra significance because they might be down there with us?
Well, I'm more interested probably on the sideline. I think the first 20 minutes on the sideline between Ticania and Holloway is just going to be absolutely fantastic. And I think, all joking aside, I think that's going to play a huge part in the game because I think those two are very similar type of characters in management style, very outspoken. And I think, but they are going to be a side down there with us at the big. Actually, no, I'm not going to say that. I think we're only 2 games in, and I think Sunderland finished the season well. I thought last season they've got a fairly decent squad behind them. I think it's going to be a tough game, but I think it's a chance for us to lock up the back a little bit. And I think Holloway's got to pull his neck in a little bit and not be at that 4th official. I think let Ticanio do all the talking, let him get in trouble. Let's just stick to our game a little bit.
Interesting point. I think the focus with pretty much any team that's playing against Sunderland, I think, is always going to be on. Everyone's waiting for Ticanio to do something crazy, I think, and I mean, it must be a distraction, really. But in some ways, it might take the pressure off the team a little. They've had a lot of changes because he's a very forthright and opinionated person. Let's put it that way. He's trying to phrase this in the right way. I don't want to say the word fascist, but he's. I've said it, haven't I? No, he.
Good job, we're a limited company now.
Yeah. Shit. So our sponsors agreed to that.
You said to me, no casual racism, no casual this, no that, and then you go and call a Premier League manager a fascist.
I didn't call him it. I just said I didn't want to say that word.
You were thinking it.
Allegedly, he is.
No, he said he was.
That might have just got us out of the lawsuit.
Yeah, maybe.
For the £27, 15p we got left in the bank.
Oh, he was a fascist. That's what he said. Anyway,
he was hailing a cab. That's what he was doing.
No, his best friend's Chris Powell. He can't be.
Yeah, that's it. I love that excuse. I'm not a racist. I've got a black friend. It's my favourite excuse. It's like when no, I'm going to get myself into trouble. Stop now. Anyway, so I think everyone's waiting for. I mean, and I noticed I was reading up on Sunderland a bit today to see how they've been getting on, and the latest thing is the Canio's. It's an interesting rule, and I think it might come right out of a certain rule book. I'm just going to get myself into so much trouble. I'm going to stop that sentence there. Basically, the sort of divide and conquer, if you like. It's he's gone in there and he's sort of isolated certain players, pushed them out the door, and he's got Phil Bardsley at the moment. Now he was spotted in a casino last season or something like that, and he's currently been suspended by Sunderland for I think basically taking the mickey when Fulham beat Sunderland on, who's taking the mickey on Twitter or something like that, and he's being investigated. But basically, that's what Ticanio does. He's a disciplinarian. He quite quickly goes and he will isolate certain people, and he'll very much make sure that the people know that he's the boss, and he's not a great lover of people with reputations. But the thing is with him is he wants to be the centre of attention. It happened to him at Swindon. He got some great results. In fact, he did really well with that club. But at the same time, he did things that alienated players and alienated supporters and caused concerns to people. And I think that's basically what he does. Is how he manages. And it'd be interesting to see how that works on the long term. I do genuinely believe that Sunderland will be down there this season. I think they're going to struggle. They've brought some interesting players in, but I think it's very difficult to gel a team together. And there's the egos at that level. And even though we're talking as Palace fans here, there's not a lot of egos at Palace. The top players, have a degree of belief in their own abilities, and they won't really tolerate being talked to like kids and things like that. So I think there's a disruptive situation at Sunderland, and it's just how well it holds together. And I think if you can get ahead against them, they're not the sort of team that are going to come back at you too well. I just think that there's a fragility about belief. And you know, let's see what happens. I genuinely think it's a game that's there for us to get our first points on the board. We've got our first goal on the board in the Premier League. That makes it's nice to get it out of the way. Nice to get Chimak on the score sheet as well. He's looking a good threat up there. So I don't think got plenty to be optimistic about. I don't see that there's nothing to fear from them. They're not a great side, and they're in a transitional period, just like Stoke were. But this time it's at Selhurst. We'll have the full crowd behind us, and every reason to be optimistic. I think we're going to go ahead and win this one. Your view, Alex?
Yeah, I just wanted to say the fact about them having signed a lot of players and trying to bed those in. I think we're in the kind of same position. And I think you saw that in the lack of concentration last game. But anyway, if we play the way that we did at Stoke in the first half, we'll be a couple of goals ahead easy. Because we actually created quite a few chances. They weren't in the box and they weren't particularly clear cut, but we still created chances. So if we create a couple of chances in the first half, I don't see why we can't even win by a couple of goals. I don't think they offer very much.
Actually, I want to pick up on a point. I'm going to end our little discussion now. We've got an email in, actually. I want to get to it before I end the show as well. But last little point, maybe a bit of positivity that we need to end on, really. And that's that there was a spell in that first half where I was watching us, and it was actually just after we scored, just after the Crouch header that Jules tipped onto the bar there. And just after that happened, we kind of might even been from the sort of the start of play after that, and it was just got the ball down, and we looked a Premiership side. We looked comfortable in possession. We were playing in a way that I don't think I've seen us play for a long, long time, and it was
the one-touch football, wasn't it?
It was the thing with that is it's the movement. It's not just the ability to play the pass once. It's the movement of the players around the ball. Usually we got one or two like in the Palace side that kind of wavelength, but there was sort of a group of 4 or 5 just sort of all switching positions and creating angles, and it was Campagna really who was leading that. I felt, because he just wanted the ball, and he just wanted the ball in any situation. He had 2 people on him, but he was still screaming for the ball, just give, and every time he got it, he just managed to play a perfect pass to someone else, and it was just lovely bits of interplay. And I just thought, if we can keep this going and just build on this, and we play like that this season, we could beat half the teams in that league at that level of football. But it's sustaining it, and that's the step up now. Excuse me. Went all quiet there because I was trying to. You don't want to really finish a really impassioned point on a burp, so I really had to force that one back down.
Can I mention my 2 friends? I've got a lot of friends. I've got a lot of friends, yeah. But two of my really close friends, a guy called Alex Smiles, who is a Sunderland fan. Alex Smiles, his name is.
Oh, I thought you said I smell.
No, he's a Sunderland fan who lives in Whitley Bay in Newcastle. He knows Rambo, and he works at Liverpool. And my mate Steve Hart, who has only ever been to 2 Sunderland games in his 43 years, and they've both been against Crystal Palace. The irony was, do you remember? I don't know if you're too young to remember this, but when we played Sunderland and Kevin Phillips, we were singing. I think it was after he was dropped from England, and we were saying, "You never play for England," and he scored the winning goal against us and ran past the Holmesdale, cup in his ear and shushing us, which was quite funny. And my mate's 6'4", and he was trying to sit on he sat on his hands really, really well. So, but safe to say, my mate Steve Hart will be there with me, East Sunderland and Mackham, and obviously we'll be giving each other a load of shit, whatever the result. So, but anyway, I just wanted to mention them.
Hopefully,
it'd be good. I'm really looking forward to the game.
Listen, I think we've got every reason to be optimistic going into that, and I very much fancy 3 points from that game. I have to say. Just to sort of end on, we've got a lovely email in from Quentin Solden. I won't read out all the praise because it sounds arrogant to do that. It really does. But he just wanted to, he also made the point. He said he lives in Inverness. He wants to ask if he's the most northerly Holmesdaler. He thinks he saw one fan in Dingwall, which is the home of Ross County, which is 12 miles north of the Highland capital. But just wondering. So, do we have any listeners or
what's his name?
His name is Quentin Solden. We do get a lot of emails from one particular person with a variety of joke names, but I don't think it is one on this occasion. If it is, it's too complicated for me to understand. But
What are some of the names? What, Hugh Jars and stuff like that?
Yeah, that sort of stuff. Yeah, they're actually quite more creative than that. You just have to read them occasionally about 3 times to work out what they are. But no, listen, thanks for your email, Quentin. And for your nice comments as well. And so I'm if you're allowed to go into other countries, you'll be amazed at how many people listen and obviously use Holmesdale and .net and BBS as well. There's Palace fans literally all over the world. It's just amazing. But I don't know if anyone's listening and even further north within the British Isles. Do let us know. But anyway, look, like I say, in summary, it's been a disappointing result. But I think it's been another very positive week for us in the Premier League. This next week is obviously huge. We've got it's the last week of being able to bring people in. I know we've got all sorts of things, all sorts of deals that are trying to be done. I'm sure by the end of this season. Sorry, the end of this week. Joel, can you stop laughing?
No, I've just seen something on Twitter. Can I just say, if you Enfield to Hollywood, just look on that person. Enfield to Hollywood. They've taken a photo. They've opened their bedroom door. And there's a fox in his bedroom.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
Sorry.
I just don't know what to say.
He's not a Leicester fan, to keep it current. He's a fox, and the geezer shitting himself as well. Yeah, they are. They're getting brave foxes these days. I mean, listen, why not talk? Yeah, he wanted to go to sleep.
Yeah, you just got to watch them, mate. You know, getting confident. It's like squirrels as well. Do you remember squirrels used to run from you in the 80s and 90s, didn't they, Joe? Now they run at you. What's going on with that?
You know what they do as well? Eat the apples that fall down off the trees.
Do they get like? Are they like when hedgehogs get drunk on apples?
Yes.
So,
when they start
like that, the squirrels do that now. Yeah. Sort of. Oh man, some crazy shit. What a fantastic way to end the show. Oh fucking hell. Awkward silence. What was I saying? Yeah, listen, positive week basically is what I was saying. Transfer window is going to be huge for us. I think we're going to probably see some exciting signings, but the indication is they will be coming in from abroad. I don't think it'll be too much domestic. Keep me up, Joe. Fucking hell.
It wasn't me.
Wasn't it?
No.
Who's going to admit to that yawn?
Alex.
It wasn't me. It's past my bedtime, though, being a student and all that.
Oh, yeah, it is.
I'm going to try one last time. Scores.
I'm going to try one. No, we're not. I'm going to try one last time to finish this show, okay? Listen, as of next week, we'll have played Sunderland. We'll have 3 points on the board and some exciting new signings, I'm sure of that, and plenty to look forward to for the season ahead. So do join us next week, Sunday, 8 p.m. Cheerio!
Bye.
Holmesdale Radio is proudly sponsored by CompleteSigns.co.uk. Complete Signs are a producer of top-quality internal and external signs for an ever-expanding portfolio of clients, including hotels, schools, local authorities and small businesses across the nation. Offering a wide range of creative solutions from flat metal nameplates to neon fascia signs and everything in between. Clients are offered the highest standards in consultation and sales support to ensure complete customer satisfaction, with clients free to choose solutions from a wide variety of materials, including brass, aluminium, stainless steel, wood and a number of plastics. Covering most of South England with virtual offices in Croydon, Epsom, Hawley, Worcester Park in Surrey, Crowthorne in Berkshire, Regent Street, West London, Docklands, East London and Crawley and Brighton in Sussex. So if you're looking for the complete professional service for your sign needs, then look no further than Complete Signs. Head to their website, CompleteSigns.co.uk, for further information, including contact details and full office addresses.